Hi, my name is Allyson Pazos, and I'm the GM for Refugee and Youth Support Services here at MCCI. So MCCI has been around for quite some time, almost 50 years, working with multicultural communities here in the Illawarra. Just as way of stats, we have in 2021 worked with over 2,500 individuals that come from refugee backgrounds or refugee-like backgrounds and have settled here in the Illawarra. They come from 18 different places and they speak maybe about over 30 languages or so. So it's quite a myriad and a diverse community that we work with. Refugee Support Services works alongside, as I said, communities from refugee backgrounds. Now, something that is sometimes a little bit confusing is the difference between what is an asylum seeker, what is a migrant, and what's a refugee. And sometimes we hear these terms interchangeably, although they are very different in terms of definition. So just as a snippet of information, so a migrant is somebody who chooses, it's a choice from that person in most cases to leave their home and move elsewhere. Normally they can plan for that and they have a bit of an idea as to where they're going to go to. So that gives us a head start, if you like. It's not an easy journey or not easy for everybody, but it certainly there is a level of awareness as to where they're going to go and the reason why. It might be for a better life, it might be because they just want to change countries. It might be because they're looking for the financial stability that their country might not provide to them. And that's a migrant. So we then have what we hear about asylum seekers. So asylum seekers are people who are looking for a safe place, a safe haven to be. They're usually not being granted the refugee status, but their life is in danger. They really need to move, and they start their journey of forced migration, if you like, because of their situation at home. It is dangerous. They're looking for a place that's safe, but they don't have a place to go yet. So they're a little bit in limbo. Really difficult situation to be in because in many cases they can't access places, they can't access services. They're not here, they're not there. Incredibly challenging and stressful. We then have what's a refugee, and refugee is someone who's been granted the refugee status. By definition, this is granted by the UNHCR. And what it means is that they might have fled their countries, they would have been asylum seekers looking for a place to stay, and they might have settled at a place where the status is then granted. So it's a refugee camp that's recognised by the United Nations, and they're given the status of refugee. Then that means that they're able to resettle elsewhere. A refugee never chooses where they're going to go. It is forced. They go to wherever the place of settlement is granted to them, and often they don't know. So we have had or I have spoken to community members who have settled in Australia as refugees that have never heard of Australia before, and they come and they settle and they make a life here, but it's not a choice of destination. The challenges with that is that often families need to resettle in different places around the world, so it's not unusual to be working with a family or an individual who perhaps has close ties to someone else who has resettled, say, in Europe or in Canada or in the US. So it has its challenges, but that's how the system actually works out. So refugees come into Australia and they're part of the humanitarian settlement program, which is really is government driven, and it provides a lot of the initial steps and supports for effective settlement. It is a very good system. Australia has a very good settlement program, but it has some gaps, and that's where we come in and provide services and support to fill in those gaps. We provide services along three main pillars so that we support them in settling here in Australia, leading a healthy and happy lives, but also working towards the goals and aspirations of individuals and families. So the programs that we provide are along social inclusion, setting them for long-term and meaningful employment, learning English and work and connecting to others, as well as educational support programs. through those main pillars, we run programs that have been around for over 10 years. So we have Let's Chat, which is a social inclusion program that runs weekly, and we have people from all different cultures coming along to that. The aim of that is to practice conversational English. We know English is really important for effective settlement, and we do that in a really friendly and safe place for them. We also provide educational support, and that is to young people, children, young people, and tertiary support. Again, a lot of our newly arrived community members have had disrupted education, haven't been able sometimes to attend formal education at all, and we understand that there's a gap that needs to be filled. Again, we do that in a really friendly way for primary school children, high school students, and also tertiary support. So whether people are going to university, TAFE, or some other programs, we provide that one-on-one mentoring as well. Another key element for effective settlement, it's looking at the well-being, physical and emotional well-being of people settling in the Illawarra. And we've got a dedicated mental health support program that allows us to work with people, breaking barriers of access. We know it is really tricky and difficult for people to talk about emotional well-being and mental health. Some of our communities have never heard or talked about it or consider that something that's important for their general well-being. So in a very gentle and culturally appropriate way, and applying cultural humility, we work alongside communities to do what we call warm referrals, so that they can access the support they need to overcome some of those issues and challenges that they might be experiencing. So another program that's been around for quite some time and help us develop agency of individuals and community members is our Learning to Drive program. So it's an L2P, which is a mentoring driving program for people who are ready to take on some lessons, need to get their hours up and get them ready to get their driver's license, not because it's just a useful thing to do, but because we know how important it is for the agency and independence, and to obtain and sustain long-term employment. To be able to drive and get there is really important. It also empowers families. We know that when women are able to move around and drive and access those independent tools, if you like, in community, they're not only just helping themselves, but helping their families and the community. So it's a really important tool for engagement and settlement.